right, everyone, welcome back into another Fantasy Golf video. Have you guys covered here with the Travelers Championship, giving you guys the preview, the top picks and bets, as well as the best values. Also going to be giving you guys a first look build. But first, we got to start out with a recap from the U.S. Open, because the U.S. Open was extremely easy to predict. Pretty much a massive week across the board. Not very many misses at all. So let's go ahead. I tweeted this out. It started out with Rory, first round lead 11-1, which was nice. That was chopped down from 22-1. Obviously hit Bryson 20-1, which was a nice outright winner. Hit pretty much a sweat-free Sunday with Rory and Bryson looking like they were going to be one of those two were going to win the whole time. And then some placement bets, the ones that I called out. Hideki finished top 10. That paid out 3.2-1, which is a good payout. Tommy Fleetwood top 20, 1.4-1. Good payout there. Corey Connors made cut, almost 0.5-1. So pretty solid bet there. The made cut parlay that I gave out to you guys also hit with Billy Horschel, Aaron Rai, and Adam Svensson making the cut. In terms of DFS coverage, pretty easy week. I mean, super sweat-free there. The sample build had an average finish at 13th. So that's like 9 out of the past 12 weeks. Extremely profitable there. And props betting-wise, didn't put out too much content for that, but about 0.7 units of profit there. And it didn't stop there, guys. Like this, the U.S. Open has been the easiest tournament to predict majors-wise, and actually just maybe tournament to predict each and every year. It's crazy, right? Different courses, but at the same time, all the key stats do not really change. So here's the player pool, pretty solid there, player pool-wise. And then you look at the ownership leverage, pretty awesome in terms of leverage gained. You can see Scottie Scheffler was appearing to be slightly overowned. And in terms of golfers that were coming in underowned, Rory was the number one leverage play, obviously finishing second, pretty solid there. And then you look at some other names popping up in there. Patrick Cantlay was in there. Corey Connors was in there. So yes, just overall a pretty easy week U.S. Open-wise. Honestly, probably not going to top that this year. It was just easy to predict. It's been the easiest tournament to predict, I would say, this whole season and maybe every single weekend. It's super strange because it is played at a different course, but at the same time, the same key stats are the ones that tend to matter the most, and that's why it's been easy to predict year in and year out. So hopefully that continues next year. But looking at the Travelers Championship for this week. And I don't like to do the recap too much, guys, but that was a pretty awesome week. So I did feel the need to kind of recap that for you guys. Hopefully you guys were able to use that advice last week and all the weeks, because it's been a nice run that we've been on. Looking at the Travelers Championship this week, though, I do want to start out with looking at weather. Right now does not seem to be an issue at all, which is very nice. Never a bad thing to not have to worry about weather. We look at kind of the overview. We can see who has won. What is the tendency here of these players winning? Good total drivers, good ball strikers, decent putters as well. So those are going to be some of the key stats that we're looking at. The average win score has kind of been hit or miss in terms of whether the course plays easy or normal. Normal scoring is anywhere from 200 par to 0, and then easy would be 300 par. Now, the interesting thing about this week is that it is going to, unfortunately, be a signature event. And so with that, this is going to be a no-cut event as well. And so for DFS purposes, we know what the strategy is going to be. It's going to be to do a studs and duds approach. And we should be able to do that quite easily this week. And so the nice thing about this tournament is that we have seen it a bunch. This course, we have seen it a bunch. So we know what to look at key stat-wise. And so those key stats are going to be ball striking and total driving. We already saw that. Strokes gained approach and strokes gained putting is what I'm going to do for a combination stat. That's going to be key stat number 5. Always using that effective scoring, which is that 9-to-5 combination stat, which is basically measuring both safety and upside, which is also what the 9-to-5 model does. This is another tournament where you do need to be avoiding bogeys, but birdie to bogey ratio is very much key here. So we're looking at effective birdie to bogey ratio again. And so looking at that, the top stat fits are going to be Xander, Scotty, Rory, O'Bear, Tommy Fleetwood, Sam Burns. I mean, really no shocks there in terms of who the top stat fits are. Maybe the better thing is to look at it who aren't the best stat fits, and those are not going to be real shocks as well. So already this is seeming like it might be a week in which it's going to be a little bit easier to predict, especially when we look at the golfers that have the best course history. All right, so looking at the golfers that have the best course history, again, this is over the past 4 years when the data is the most relevant. Patrick Cantlay, okay, finishing 5th, 13th, 13th, 11th, so he's been a stud here. Rory, 5th, 19th, 11th. Obviously, we've got to wonder, is he going to be able to bounce back from, definitely joking. That was a big choke job. Honestly, I think that's going to be a good thing for him at the Open Championship. He'd probably be my first bet, honestly, there. I think he's going to be mentally geared up and ready to go once that comes around. We got Xander, who won at this tournament, and also 20th place finishes mixed in there as well. The one thing that we should point out about this tournament is that it typically did not have that many big-name players in the field. And so this week it's going to, given the fact that it is a signature event. You also have Russell Henley, 2 19th place finishes mixed in there, 32nd. Victor Hovland. You have Brian Harman as well, where if you were to go back further, you would see a bunch of top 10 finishes as well. Honestly, you take out this miscut from the COVID year, then it looks much better. And I think you could do that. Like, he's finished 3rd, 8th, and 5th. Other than that, like, he has tremendous course history as well. But I think looking at Harris English win as well is somewhat interesting, because it was him and Kramer Hickok in one of the most legendary playoffs ever. It was like 7 holes deep, all of them hitting clutch shots. Harris English had some like buried bunker shots that he had to hit. And so the fact that Harris English won, not surprising. The fact that Kramer Hickok was right there and could potentially win, you know, wouldn't be shocking to see some random golfers be in contention to win. But at the same time, given this loaded field, I do expect the big name golfers to be able to win. So again, though, data-wise, this is looking like a pretty strong week, which is nice. And then we look at the golfers in the best recent form. So it is very tight now, okay? You got Scotty and Xander basically tied now, because Scotty coming in off of a 31st place finish. Obviously, that's not great, especially when Xander continues to rattle off top 10 finishes. You have Rory as well mixed in there. Colin Morikawa mixed in there as well. Like, the amount of golfers that are playing great golf right now is pretty crazy. Like, we got Hideki in there as well, Russell Henley, Corey Connors, Aubert, just a bunch of golfers that continue to play great golf. I mean, look at the average finishes here. Like, average finish over their last, let's do 15 starts. 6th for Scotty, 13th or so for Xander, 20th for Rory. And if you dial in that a little bit more, like the past 10 finishes, I mean, just elite stuff here from these golfers. So again, data-wise, this should be an easier to predict week. The only issue that we have is that it is going to be a no-cut event, which makes us need to do the studs and duds approach a little bit more. And then looking at specialist data, again, this is pulling in all the unique characteristics for that week's tournament and putting it into one data point. You could look at like Pete Dye course designs. You could look at that. These are going to be bent greens. It's going to be in Connecticut. All interesting stuff. It is kind of a shorter track, somewhat easier sometimes. The rough is going to be thick as well. And so when we look at who are going to be the top specialists, I'm just going to sort by that. And those are going to be Scotty, Rory, Xander, Aubert, Morikawa. So no big shocks there, right? All the players that you probably would have thought would be good course fits, looking at the specialist data, are going to be good course fits. So with that, guys, again, going to be an easier to predict week. Let's go ahead and get into the top picks and plays this week. And so jumping into the top picks, I will say that the outright odds are not being pulled in currently right now. It's kind of scattered data, just as an FYI. So we don't need to look at that just yet. So I do think once the outright data comes in, again, it's a little bit earlier in the day on Monday before that's being pulled in, Scotty might be number one. But right now, as it sits, for the first time in like several months, Xander is beating out Scotty. Now, some of you guys might be thinking that's a little bit crazy, but the reason as to why that is in terms of data, the most important data point in general is their last start. So obviously, Scotty not having a good week last week, 41st, and Xander finishing 7th, that's where he is going to trump Scotty this week. At the same time, those three golfers, again, the big three, it's going to be tough not to play them. Now, we do have to worry about how does Rory respond after, definitely choking that away. At the same time, if you look at his strokes gained putting stats leading up to kind of the final holes, you would have said, oh, he's due to regress in the putting department because you don't putt that well above your means typically. And unfortunately for him, that is what happened. If it wasn't for that, like having to worry about that, I think we'd be good to go with Rory. Now, I do think he has kind of shown us time and time again that he can look past that. At the same time, at his price, DFS-wise, I don't think we need to go there. Maybe we can bet him outright-wise if it's like 10-1. I think I'd be fine to do that in a limited field event. And then looking at Scotty as well, I don't think we have to worry about Scotty putting as poorly as he did last week. He just could not make anything with the putter. And then greens that were probably a little bit too fast, in all honesty. Like they probably should have watered them a little bit more to have a little bit more stick. We shouldn't have to worry about that too much this week. Now, his greens can be tricky as well, don't get me wrong, but more likely than not, he's going to put better. Now, he is someone that had struggled at this event in the past. Looking at 3 starts ago at this tournament, 47th and a missed cut. Not good there. But since then, he finished 4th last year and 13th the year prior to that. And again, looking at key stats, his game sets up perfect for this track. So he should be good to go here. Definitely fine with him. But honestly, it's probably just Xander. Former winner at this track, finished 20th last year. Also has a 20th place finish mixed in there. Look at all the key stats that we're looking at for Xander this week, guys. The worst stat that we have coming into this, the worst data point, is the 23rd place finish 5 starts ago. Like, who cares, right? Like, that might even be at the team event. I don't know. The Zurich Classic. But he ranks top 4 better in all the key metrics that we're looking at. And so, again, probably looking at starting most of my builds this week out with that man, Xander Schauffele. And outright wise, he's probably going to be my first bet as well. From there, we do have Aubert, who, I kind of felt bad for him. I do think there is something where playing with Bryson threw him off. I think Pavon got a little bit gypped by playing with Bryson. Bryson's a slow golfer. Kind of makes it all about him. We've seen that time and time again. So we don't have to worry about that. I'm not blaming Bryson. It's just kind of a competitive advantage that Bryson has there. And I don't think he plays as poorly, or I don't think he has that one random blow up hole if he's not playing with Bryson. I really don't see that happening. And the fact that he was able to bounce back last week in round 4, that's pretty telling to me. And so it really wouldn't be shocking to see him go out and win this week. I'm almost kind of expecting it. And so outright wise, I think we are going to go pretty chalky on the top end, where we're probably betting Aubert, we're probably betting Xander to start. The question is, DFS-wise, can we play Aubert? And I don't know if we need to, because this is a loaded field. You have Kyle Morikawa, who's been trending in the right direction for quite some time. His game sets up extremely well. You got Patrick Cantlay, whose game sets up pretty well, historically speaking. He just hasn't been playing well thus far this season. Be interesting to see how he responds. This is one of those spots that is also very difficult to predict. How is he going to respond from last week? Because that was his best week in quite some time there. Patrick Cantlay's best week in quite some time. He's had some spike weeks, 6 starts ago, 3rd place finish, but for the most part has not been that good. So course history, he's played extremely well here. I see him more as a shoulder stroke play, a play we can get to if we want. But at the same time, I would much rather go with Hideki at 9.2. He's someone that continues to deliver great results. And now my question with Hideki is, how has he played after the majors? And he has played pretty well. At the same time, I do think we need to worry about him slightly withdrawing, but if he plays, we're going to be good to go with him. Last year finished top 10 at this event. Again, his game also sets up extremely well for this track. And then from there, we do have some more plays that we need to toss into the top plays tier. And that's how loaded this field is. That's the tough part about DFS this week, is that we do have a lot of softer pricing because it's only a limited field. It's 72 field with a no cut. And so do we go with someone like Tony Finau, who's been a stud recently, made 8 straight cuts now on the PGA Tour. His past few starts on the PGA Tour, 3rd, 8th, 17th, 18th, one bad start, 12th. Just been playing great golf. Not the best course history here. That's the concern with Tony Finau. 43rd, 13th, miscut. We don't have to worry about the miscut. With Tony Finau, we'd only be chasing that upside. And he's been playing extremely well. Wouldn't be shocking to see him play well. At the same time, we do have Russell Henley, who had his price 8.6, and betting-wise, he is someone that I'd be happy to bet outright-wise. I'm not sure what his number is going to be just yet. I haven't looked at that just yet, but I would imagine 30 to 1. Even if it's at 20 to 1, I'd still be happy to bet on him. I'll be coming out with the betting video tomorrow, just as an FYI. But looking at Russell Henley, just coming in, checking all the boxes this week. 7th place finish last week, 27th, 23rd, 10th, 12th, 38th, 4th. So over his past 7 starts, just really, really good stuff there from him. Finished 19th, 19th, and 32nd at this course over the past few years. So really good, desirable results at this track, especially at this price tag. Key stat-wise, effective scoring, 3rd in the field. Could be better ball striking and total driving, but he's not making that many mistakes. And we saw last week on Sunday, if he gets hot with the putter, he can really get going. Russell Henley is someone that, historically speaking, I felt like was a hit or miss option only. He's been pretty consistent now. So I think at 8.6, he's certainly someone we want to be looking at as well. And so for this first look build, I'm going to toss him in there knowing that we want to do studs and duds. And so we'll see how that works out. But Russell Henley, just too good of a play at that price tag. And then again, Corey Connors just continues to deliver. He was one of the better leverage plays. 24 straight made cuts. You maybe worry about his upside a little bit in a no-cut event where, golfers can kind of freely be firing. But he should be good to go this week. Spectacular play here. Top 10 finish at this tournament last year. Key stat-wise, guys, 2nd best in the field, ball striking, 12th best in the field in total driving, effective birdie to bogey ratio, 3rd there. So his game just sets up very well here. Kind of reminds me of Harris English when he won, or even Keegan Bradley when he won last year. That's the type of player Corey Connors is. Okay, so it's just going to be tough to avoid him. 7th best recent form in the field, top 10 stat fit, 7th best specialist. The one concern is that he missed the cut at this tournament 4 years ago during that COVID year. For me, it's okay, who cares? So again, I don't like the fact that we're going more fair and balanced to start kind of the first look build here, but it's kind of the nature of the beast this week, and we can still do studs and duds. So that kind of does it for the top plays at the Travelers Championship. There are lots of other plays, guys. I mean, it's a pretty loaded field. There's a lot of players that are good plays that I wouldn't talk you out of. Tommy Fleetwood being one of those, Sam Burns being one of those. Obviously, Kyle Morikawa playing well. We're trying to find something here. It's a very tight board in terms of who can go low, but I do think we are gaining some edges. So let's go ahead and talk about some values. All right, so some values this week, basically 8K and lower. Where can we find some good plays? Well, Shane Lowry continues to pop up. He continues to be someone that's honestly just annoying. Like, I just want a bad week out of you or a really good one. And it's kind of been a little bit of both, but he continues to play well enough, continues to make cuts, continues to be a good enough play where he's someone that is going to be a shoulder shrug play again this week. And so if anyone that doesn't know what a shoulder shrug play is, it's like, I think this is from like How I Met Your Mother, where you go to the fridge, you grab that milk jug, you smell it, and you're like, it should be good, and you drink it. That's basically what a shoulder shrug play is. It's like, it's good enough for this to end up on. So I'm kind of okay with him. Same thing with Adam Scott. Kind of okay with him. Jason Day's okay. Harris English, though, is certainly interesting this week. JT Poston's kind of someone that can get hot at this track. I'm fine with those plays at their prices. Austin Eckroat continues to be someone that seems to be a decent value. Kurt Kitayama continues to be a decent play as well. Stafford-wise should be decent here, but not great. The play that's kind of obvious to me is Andrew Putnam, and we also have Adam Svensson and Lee Hodges there. All three of those golfers right there are all players that to me are just vastly too cheap, and I really don't get the pricing on those guys. So looking at it, Andrew Putnam, he's been someone that we've been on a bunch this year already. I think a lot of you people already know that are watching this video. Course history-wise, pretty solid, 43rd and 46th place finishes, so made cuts for him, which at this price tag, obviously we don't have to worry about a make cut, but at this price tag, to get that percentile finish, if you will, that's kind of huge. Like, that is him finishing in the top 50%. If you're looking at a value play, if you're trying to do studs and duds, you are just trying to find players that are going to give you a top 50% finish, or at the very least, outproducing their price tag. And Andrew Putnam to be at 6.4, that is something that I do see him doing. And so he is someone that I will be going out of my way to roster. We have seen some decent upside finishes from him. This is a track that does set up better for his game as well. And you guys might be thinking, well, man, you recommend the same plays each and every week. And it's like, yeah, I do. That's why we're successful, right? Like, that's why we've had a good season thus far. There's no reason to change it up too much. So from there, Adam Svensson also going to be someone that is going to be tough to pass up on. Course history-wise, miscut and a top 25 place finish. So, decent there. It's the recent form. 10 straight made cuts. Love that there from him. The fact that he is playing that well, the fact that he made the cut last week, which thank you for the made cut parlay. He is just someone at this price tag. Again, we want to be doing studs and duds. Makes a lot of sense. Now, the issue with Putnam and Svensson to me is that maybe they don't have as much scoring upside, ability to make birdies and really score. A little bit of a concern there, but that's where someone like Lee Hodges I kind of like as well. Lee Hodges 4 straight made cuts now. Did what we wanted him to do at the Memorial 2 weeks ago. 62nd place finish, 12th, 24th prior to that. So a short-term firm, pretty solid. 66th place finish at this event last year, 25th the year prior to that. So pretty good stuff from Lee Hodges course history-wise. Love the fact that he does have course history. So those are going to be the players I'm looking at. Emiliano Grillo is someone that could pop. Brennan Todd, also someone that could pop, but I don't think we need to go there as well. Again, studs and duds-wise, you could, though. It wouldn't be a terrible play. Jake Knapp, good total driver and ball striker. Wouldn't be surprising to see him pop a little bit, but I don't think we need to go there. And so let's go ahead and try to close out that first look build, and then we'll run it with the 9-to-5 lineup builder as well, seeing if there's any little differences there. But this is kind of the issue that I'm facing, is that typically I don't want to play 2 8K players. I want to really be chasing that upside, with some of those studs. And I do think that's going to be the move, because what's more likely, Colin Morikawa to get a top 15 place finish, or Corey Connors or Russell Henley? That might be a little bit too tight, actually. What's more likely, Rory and Scotty to get a top 10 finish, or Russell Henley and or Corey Connors to get a top 10 finish? Like, that's the issue there. And so we want to be chasing those plays that give us that top 10 upside, that bonus for where they finish. We want to be chasing those plays. And so again, that's the issue this week. I would be fine going Tony Finau for this first look build. Let's see what putting Scotty Scheffler into our build does. We probably have to get off of Henley and Corey Connors, which is fine. We could go Lee Hodges, we could go Adam Svensson, and then we're fine. And then 7.1 left over. Harris English I'd be fine with there. Like, it works. Do we need to go Scotty? Maybe not. Maybe we could go Aubert. I think he's a solid play. Then we have 9.4 left over. We can go Hideki. If he plays, like, this is a solid build as well. And so, again, kind of a more difficult week to end up on one specific build. That's kind of the issue, is because this field is loaded. Again, lots of great golfers coming into this event. How will they respond after the Masters? After the US Open? That's what we got to figure out. But again, we're going to be able to make some good builds this week. And so for first look build purposes, this is what I'll be showing you guys here. I'm fine with this. It probably won't be my final build, but it's solid. And so we're going to jump into the 9 to 5 lineup builder, which you guys can access through the 9 to 5 website if you guys are a 9 to 5 member. Here is the 9 to 5 homepage. If you're unfamiliar, I'll have the write-up each and every week there for you guys, all the tools that we have available, each and every video that gets posted, some more breakdowns of the tools here. Then we also have the prop tools as well. So make sure to check that out. If you guys want to sign up, head on over to the pricings and plans tab. It's only $10 a month. But we're going to get into the PGA lineup builder just to show you guys that first look build. And so again, we need to start with just 2 data points. So that's what I'm doing right now. I'm going to bump up Xander's and Sky's a little bit more. Going to do one slight thing, 35% max exposure, 3 unique plays, just to kind of give you guys the general sense of what the lineup optimizer is telling us to do this week. Last week it told us to do fair and balanced. That did end up working out a pretty good amount there. Looking at it, the top build, Patrick Cantlay, Tony Finau, Russell Henley, Corey Connors, Shane Lowry, and Kurt Kitayama. It does continue to like Kurt Kitayama and Shane Lowry a little bit more than I do personally. But that's just something where if you guys agree with that or disagree with that, you could just go in and let's say like Kurt Kitayama, show usage. I'm gonna dip Kurt Kitayama down to like 15% max exposure just to tell it I don't want it to be on him that much. And probably same thing with Shane Lowry, maybe 15% for him. We'll generate this again. So that's still gonna be the top build, but I'm also telling it I don't need that many or that much exposure to them. And probably maybe a little bit too much Adam Scott for me. This build kind of looks solid right here. JT Poston, Clark, Connors, Henley, Finau, Fleetwood. But what's the theme here? Probably still more studs and dudsy as it sits right now. Now that can change once we get more of the outright sportsbook data coming in as well. But that's going to be all for this video. Make sure to like and subscribe, guys. Honestly, been a huge season thus far. Love the support that we've been getting. I know you guys have been benefiting from that as well. I didn't even mention pool-wise. Spectacular. Got a lot of people messaging me saying that they won their pools again for the US Open. Just good stuff all around. So hopefully you guys have been able to benefit from that. If you haven't, maybe you haven't signed up for the 9 to 5 membership, that is available for just $10 a month. You guys can get access to that again at the 9to5sports.com website. If you guys aren't looking to sign up, that's fine. Just make sure to like this video. That helps out the channel a lot. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, let's keep cashing.